Good afternoon, this is Media Center, Ukraine, Odesa. We continue our briefings. Current briefing will be dedicated to environmental impact of the destroyed Kakhovka Dam. Our guest is Vladyslav Balynsky, head of NGO Green Leaf. Could you please briefly describe the ecological impact of the flood? Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone first. And if briefly, they will be catastrophic because there is the whole destruction of biogenosis with the whole living organisms. And this territory is unique, the low current of the Dnipro River. This is one of the rare areas that was not altered by humans. That was a natural resort. And this territory from Nova Kakhovka to Dnipro Puch Liman, or estuary, with a part of the national park. Around 80,000 hectares are now flooded. The natural processes when the river level increases, it cannot be as dramatic as we have in the result of this catastrophe. We can now speak about the increase of water level that are 10 times bigger than the natural levels. We are not talking here about the vegetation, different type of shrubs and water plants. This is also the system of islands with the populating organisms. And this is also steppe areas. All of them will be flooded and destroyed. The stable system of biocenosis that have been forming there for hundreds of years will be destroyed and altered, because 100,000 tons of soil will be washed into the sea. That's why the scale is just devastating. The war affects all natural territories of the Kherson region, because all national parks in Kherson and Mykolaiv oblasts are occupied. We know about Askania Nova, we know about Belaberezhia and Svyatoslava national parks, and also a landscape resort area of Kimburg Strait. They were shelled, but the landscape there was not fully destroyed. But now we are talking about the full destruction of the landscape, and this is terrible, because hundreds of kinds of plants, insects, and animals are there. And 30 30 kinds of plants and around 80 types of animals are the part of the Red Book, not only in Ukraine. And now it is known that 150 tons of machine oil got into the war, and more of that oil is expected. Will it deteriorate the situation after the destruction of the dam? We're talking about the local incident. because when it comes to the destruction of the natural area, it is of a local nature. But we should understand that we also have the global level here, because this is a water object, and through the water area of the Black Sea, not only Ukraine but all the Black Sea countries will be affected. First of all, Romania, because the current goes from Dnipro Liman to Odesa, and further on, this is kind of circular current near the coastline. Those the oil that you're now mentioning is only a small part of contamination that we should expect as a result of this terrorist attack. We should talk about 100,000 tons of soils. And first of all, we should be aware of toxic silt that have been accumulated in the Kakhovka reservoir. During such massive discharge of water, they will be carried out into the sea, including other silts with chemical materials, because the floating system, first of all, has a function of liver in human body. So this system clarifies the water and contains a lot of contamination elements, including heavy metals. And when we have such a huge discharge of water, we should expect that all these chemicals will get into the Black Sea. And through the circular current, we will expect the global-wide contamination, because this is a coastline current along the Odesa water area. Then it goes to Bulgaria and Romania. Romania perhaps will be less affected, because water from the Danube River could somehow move this current, but Bulgaria and Turkey will also be affected by this contamination. We have a question from a journalist, Michael Vasura, Newsweek journal. And is the river wider now in the southern part from the dam, and how it is affected in the north from the dam? This is quite an interesting question. We are not talking now about the natural condition of the Dnipro River. We know that there is a cascade of reservoirs. And the level of water in these reservoirs is regulated manually. There are specific regimes of maintaining such reservoirs to maintain live ecosystems. There are some sanitary discharges when the water level is increased to flood the spawning areas for fish. But everything is regulated manually. The impact of the low cascade on the middle and upper cascades, I mean now Kremenchuk Reservoir and upper Zaporizhzhia Reservoir, is there, but this is insignificant. For proper functioning of ecosystems, we will need to support the water level. For this, we will need to decrease in time the water level in Kremenchuk Reservoir, including the upper part. As for the lower cascade, there are around 8 million cubic meters of water, and this is quite a long reservoir. And here there is a danger of washing of different materials, different slits that contain heavy metals, and they will be carried in the water areas of the Black Sea, including the Sepropels. This is the last question because we are going to have the next briefing in 5 minutes. But this is a very important issue. After the explosion, several journalists started making parallels between current explosion and the explosion that was organized by the Soviet army when they were leaving Kakhovka, a hydroelectric power station. And was it difficult to reconstruct the dam after the victory in the Second World War? I know for sure that in 1941, the Dnipro hydroelectric station dam was blown up. That is located in the Upper Cascade in the city of Zaporizhzhia. Back then, it killed 10,000 of people because the scale of that catastrophe was more extensive than we have now. And I also know that the dam of the Dnipro hydroelectric power station was also blown up by fascist forces during their retreat. From the military point of view, such actions are quite frequent, but in our case, we are talking about the crime, because that was done on purpose, because this is a critical infrastructure, and to blow it up, there should be a plan. There are the 10,000 tons of explosive materials, and as far as I know, the security services of Ukraine have confirmed the negotiations of the Russian party, proving that they planned that. And I hope that we'll be able to prove ecocide, that the damages will be calculated with the involvement of environmentalists, and the numbers will be huge. And hopefully in the future, after our victory, we will be able to get reparations from the aggressor country to restore these facilities and ecosystems. Thank you, Vladyslav. Thank you for your time. Thank you for explaining us environmental aspects of the catastrophe. Thank you. The next briefing will take place in several minutes. Please stay tuned. It will be dedicated to the decision of the European Court of Human Rights in relation to the rights of same-sex couples in Ukraine. Our guests will share more details, so please stay tuned.